Hi everybody, this is Rhys Barber from Audiology Associates. Thank you very much for watching our earwax removal video today. With just one patient in this video. This is the one we sort of teased you about last week. So quite a big wax removal, this one, from both ears. So you can see here we've got this really dry skin at the entrance to the canal, really dry, very brittle type earwax as well. Now with this particular type of earwax, because it becomes quite dry and brittle, it becomes quite angular as well. So when you're trying to pop the suction tube on top, it doesn't always get a great grip, which is why we're going in with the Jobson horn here to start with. We've also got lots of little pieces of wax all sitting down that canal. So it's not one big chunk per se, but lots and lots of little pieces all sitting one in front of the other all the way down. As you can see here, we've just got the Jobson horn in here. We're just working our way around this entrance, taking these little crumbly, tiny little pieces of wax away. You'll see some little bits of dead, dry skin in here as well. Though don't forget, when this wax does dry, it can sometimes dry around these pieces of wax, dry skin as well, so it holds everything into place as well. So you can see here, this is the first bit we took away, quite a big chunky little piece there. So we're going to go in now with the Jobson horn again. You can see we've got this almost plate of dry wax and skin here, which I'm just sort of working down the one side. There we are, just working down this right-hand side here, just to try and lever it off the canal wall. In with the forceps now, because we've got this very thin plate. Just trying to get the jaw above and below that piece of skin and wax. And as we pull, there we are, you can see that little bit of dry skin was attached to another piece of wax there. So we're back in now with the Jobson horn, just lining up our next few pieces. You can see this long, thin sort of piece of skin coming off the one canal wall here. Okay, so we're just lifting from the side. You can see these very thick, dry pieces of skin. We've said in the past, when skin detaches and healthy sort of skin detaches from the layer underneath, it really dries out and becomes this much harder sort of keratinous material here. There we are, lifting, constantly lifting from the canal wall. Now, you might ask, well, why do some people get this kind of drier type material you can see coming away here, and why do some people get this kind of wetter type of wax? We're kind of genetically predisposed to one or the other. Now, obviously, you can see this patient has this much drier material. You tend to find it does come in hand, obviously, with dry skin. We don't produce as much oil in the ear canals as well, so you're kind of missing those sebaceous glands. And what happens then is this wax is it keeps drying onto the canal walls, which is where it forms this kind of crumbly, dry mixture you can see here. So we've got a little gap there. We're just working the Jobson horn behind it. There we go, flicking that out there into the bowl of the ear canal. Back in now with the suction, just to take up any looser pieces. Remember I said this is a little bit kind of brittle, so sometimes when you're using the Jobson horn, you'll break little tiny bits off, so it's good with the suction sometimes just to take those little bits out. What we're also doing here is using it to peel the wax from the canal wall, and you can see the pinkness of the canal walls underneath. They look quite dry. Trying to get a good clamp on this now with the forceps. On its way out, it looks like it may just, oh, there you go, the whole thing out. Sometimes it'll just crumble away as you get to the entrance. So now picking this little bit up here, we had the crocodile forceps in hand, so we'll use that just to scoop that a little bit out. And let's see, got the little cilia there, you can just see flicking out a little bit of dry skin on there, peeling this away. There you go, you can see these flakes of dry skin there as well. It's kind of getting in the way of the suction a little bit. And because they're very, very thin pieces, you have to kind of turn them to be able to get the suction tube onto the flatter side to be able to pull these out. Getting a good grip, there we go. You can see these flatter skin and wax pieces here. You can start to see that the wax itself is all kind of clumped together a little bit deeper in. You can see the pinkness to the canal walls underneath there, looking very dry. There we go, pulling that away. As this is coming down, you can see the little lifts of white skin underneath. You can see as we're pulling this that something is just holding this back a little bit. So I'd imagine there's probably another little bit of dry skin a bit further in. We just clamped on a brittle bit of that wax there, just broke away with the crocodile forceps. Let's see if we can hold on to this a little bit tighter. You can see as we're pulling, the back end of this wax, because it is quite dry, is holding against another piece much, much further back, which is still attached to the canal wall there. So we're going to need a bit more force. So if we can get a good grip with the forceps here. We might just have to readjust this here. You can see we have to sort of tentatively hold on to the top to draw it forwards enough to be able to get a better grip. As we pull that, you can see that tail of wax coming away with it there, and there's more behind it again. So let's see if we can detach this from the top here. You can see we're holding on and pulling down, just trying to unlatch it, if you like, from the skin of the ear canal wall. There we are, still pulling down. It's starting to move. You can see it's got that little bit of movement, a bit of a wiggle there as we try and take this away. So we just detached it from the top of the canal wall. Let's see if we can get the crocodile forceps on this. The crocodile forceps are really made for this type of earwax. This kind of thinner, harder pieces here. You can get a good grip on it. There we are. You can see all that coming away. All of that back section, they're all just peeled away. Now we've got another little dry piece to come away now. Just going to use the suction because it's freed up. We can get the suction grip on here and start to draw this forwards. There we go. It's on its way. There we go. So out that pops. Let's take a look behind that. It was a little bit of dry skin and a dry wax there. There we are. We can see the eardrum now. You can see the redness, how most people with this type of condition would say their ear canals felt really itchy, dry. You know, they really want to get in there and give it a good scratch. And you can see why now when you look at the skin in here. Now, what we would normally say to patients like this is, you know, if you have this kind of really dry type wax, popping a little bit of olive oil in on a regular basis is really going to help because it'll get absorbed by the wax itself, keep it that little bit softer. It'll also help to sort of moisturize the skin a little bit in the ear canal. You can see just how irritated that skin would have been here as well. It just looks itchy. And then we're just taking this last piece of dry skin. Let's see if we can lift this off. There we are, starting to peel away. You can see how we get these lifts of skin where the top layer just dries out and lifts off the layer underneath. And then you've got all these bits kind of lifting all the way down the canal. And the wax, as it's trying to go over, is hitting these and drying around it, holding these pieces in. So I'm just going around the outside edge of the canal here, just using the side of the Jobson horn just to take any dry bits away. You can see actually the eardrum looks lovely and healthy there, you know, compared to that canal wall, which looks quite pink and irritated. Now, this is the same patient, obviously the other ear here. And when we go in, we've got the same kind of issue. So we're going to go straight in with the Jobson horn, as we did on the last ear as well. Just try to break down some of these looser sections at the front. Got a good grip. We start to feel a hole or a big chunk starting to move there. There we are. You can see how the layers are starting to separate out a little bit, but we can see on this left-hand side where it's still attached here. There we are. Let's draw this down. There we go. So that's the front entrance gone. Now you'll see behind it now, we've got these lifts of dry skin either side here, which can almost form a kind of covering over the eardrum, if you like. Not so much like a false fundus, it's just the fact that they cover over and it's dead skin. So we're peeling that away now. There we are. And it's still attached, it's still a little bit further in, so we're just kind of shoving it along. There we go. Out it comes into the bowl of the ear there. We'll lift this up. You can see all that dry skin encasing that harder piece of wax underneath, which is still just in the bowl, so we'll pick that up now. There we are. You can see how crumbly that is now. When we start lifting it up, you can see all the little bits around the outside edge there. So we've got this little lift of dry skin around the outside edge. Let's get rid of that. So we're going to use the suction just to, if we can take it out with suction, we will. If not, we'll reposition it with the suction so we can get the forceps on here. You can see how that bit's a little bit tougher. It's just holding on to the side, but we're going to struggle to get to the dry wax behind it unless we remove this front section here. There we go. You can see that much drier material deeper in here as well. There we go. That's the next section. You can see how it's almost unpicking this wax, sort of taking it apart piece by piece, you know, looking for, you know, removing this piece here to the left-hand side now allows us to be able to kind of lift this section on the right-hand side across into that gap. So it's constantly having room to unpeel and unstick that dry wax from the canal wall here. Quite a large chunk. Let's see if we can detach that from the roof. There we go. You can see a little bit of movement there. Is it held on to the piece behind? Doesn't look like it. It's coming away quite nicely. If we hit some resistance on the way out, we know it's still attached in there. Ooh, it's looking like there might be a little bit. It's either too big to fit out of the canal here or that we've hit a little bit of resistance. So let's get over the top here with the Jobson horn. Just flick it out. There we are. And we'll pick that up so you guys can take a look at it. There we go, another big chunky bit. Let's get behind that now. There we are. We can see color change now, much older dry wax here, much deeper in. That very dark material. Trying to lift and detach from the base of the canal wall here. If we can get, there we go, there we are. We can just broke that front end off the wax. Let's go back in now, see if we can grab that last section. Looking for anywhere on here I can get a good grip. Gently teasing this down. There we are. Now you could also use a little bit of olive oil here. Obviously the reason that you'd think twice about it with this particular ear canal, I know a lot of guys, you know, in the comments say, well, you know, it's dry, wouldn't you have put some olive oil in? If your cilia around the outside edge are really dense, which this chap does have quite dense little cilia here, you're always looking for that trade-off. You can put the olive oil in, certainly it would help to get this wax out, but you also lose the visual a little bit because the oil tends to coat the cilia, which can sit on the surface of the endoscope a little bit as you're putting it in. So you're always weighing up, well, you know, how much benefit will I get from using the olive oil compared to how much visibility will I lose by using it? But in this case, because we had all the pieces and they were coming away quite nicely, you know, there's no point in really kind of upsetting that view there. We've got a good view, everything's coming out. We just need to be a little bit more patient with it, but it will come. And there you go, you can see these last couple of pieces coming away now. Got the crocodile forceps on there. You can see how dense those cilia were as we were pulling through there as well. Let's go back in. There we are, there's the eardrum, all looking nice and healthy. You can see all those little tiny, teeny weeny little lifts. But look at what we removed. That is 10 centimeters, 4 inches of dry wax from both ear canals there. That was an absolutely epic removal. The paper was just completely covered in this dry wax. But you can see just how much was hiding around in those ear canals. And it was all kind of layered one in front of the other. So sometimes the patient won't necessarily notice any hearing issues if you've got these little gaps, because the sound can make its way through, and as long as the sound can get to the eardrum, the patient wouldn't notice too much of a difference. But it would have been the dryness, the irritation for this particular patient's ear canals that would have been the big one. Well guys, I really hope you enjoyed that video. I've got another interesting one for you on Friday, which I came across today because it's my first day back in work today. And yeah, that was a really interesting one, guys. So make sure you stay tuned for Friday's one as well. Yeah, it's quite an unusual skin peel, that one, but I won't say any more. I won't spoil it for you, I promise. Well, guys, as always, take care of your ears, take care of yourselves, take care of one another, and I shall see you again on Friday. Take care, everyone.